Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and welcome to the science class for year 6. Okay, before we start our lesson, we shall recite dua. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Rabbi zidni ilma warzuqni fahma. Wassallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wasallam walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Okay, continuing our topic for this week would be the same thing, energy and forces, the same theme, but the subtopic would be sources of electricity and saving electricity. Compared with last year, we talked about energy conversion and using electricity. Yes. Okay. Now, to describe our objective for today is to describe the sources of electricity. Now, where does electricity comes from? And next objective will be to justify the need to save electricity and recommend ways of saving electricity in the home and in schools. So, why do we need to save electricity, and in what ways do we save electricity at home and in school? So, what we need to do is to talk about sources of electricity and talk about why do we need to save electricity and how do we save electricity. Now, let's continue to sources of electricity. Sources of electricity in our home and factories comes from two sources, that is mains electricity and electric cells. Now electricity at home or in the factory or in the shop comes from these two sources, either mains electricity or electric cells. Now mains electricity is this, like the socket of electricity which we commonly found at home, and electric cells which is dry cells or battery like in the cars, which I will explain later. But at home we usually have this for our clocks or maybe our remotes. Okay, next, mains electricity is produced in a power station, like I have explained last week. Electricity at home or in factories or anywhere in shops, we get the electricity from power station. There are many types of power station. One of those power station are this one, coal power station, which means power station that burns coal to produce electricity. It doesn't actually burn the coal and produce electricity, but it burns the coal, batu arang. It burn it and boils water, and the steam from the water will move generators, will push the generators, and generators will produce electricity. Basically, that is how electricity is produced in a power station. It burns something, it boils the water, and then the steam from the water will move the generators in the power station, and then the generators will produce electricity. It's the same thing like nuclear power station. They use a kind of thing that is uh, I don't remember, but what happened is generate power through nuclear fusion. Nuclear fusion, you don't need to learn that, but we call that nuclear power station. Next would be gas power station. It's the same like coal. It burns coal. It burns gas and boils water. The steam from the water will move generators, and generators will produce electricity. And the same thing with oil power station. Now these four are more or less have the same concept. It burns something or it boils water. Water will produce steam, and steam will move the generators, and generators will produce electricity. Now there are other types of power station else than that for coal, nuclear, oil and gas. We do have wind turbine. This is a different concept, which is using the wind. Wind will push the fans and the fans will turn around, and the motor inside the fan will produce electricity for our homes and factory. We don't have this in Brunei Darussalam, but it's commonly used in the Western countries. Now, hydroelectric power station, we don't have this hydroelectric power station, but China have the biggest hydroelectric power station in the world. They produce electricity by using this method water. They collect water and water will move down, and the movement will push generators, turn the generators around, and then what happened, the generators will produce electricity. Now these two are more or less but using not burning something. This is safer than the other two. It's not burning anything, it uses water, and the other one, wind turbine, uses wind. Okay, we move on. The electricity travels along power lines to homes and factory. From the power station, the electricity produced will travel along power lines to our homes and factory. Power lines such as this. This is the higher voltage power lines. And it will meet substation like this one. And what happened? Electricity travel to power lines to home and factories like this one. After power lines, let me show you again. Power lines like this one, they need substation either to raise the voltage or reduce the voltage to in order for electricity to move in here using power lines, these big power lines. They will increase the power of the electricity to, like in Brunei, like 66,000 volts. And what happened is, after that, when it almost reach our home, it will go through another substation, and from the substation it will move to smaller power lines like this one, home power lines. It's smaller, and it will produce like 220 to 240 volt. It is a large difference compared with the bigger power line. So it's smaller power here, 240 volts only. And then the sorry will go, the electricity will move to our homes here, like in this picture. Okay, next we shall talk about electric cells. Some electric devices uses electric cells. The most common type of electric cell is a dry cell. Dry cell is what we have learned, dry cell. Now there's another type of electric cell, not dry cell. Later we'll tell you, but dry cell is used to power devices, electric devices such as your phone or torchlight or remote control toys, or your remote control for your PS5. Yes. And then it does those things uses dry cells. There are many different kinds of dry cells. Of course, this is non-rechargeable. Some dry cells can be recharged. Not all dry cells are the same, but the name is the same, dry cells. The function is to store electric energy and to give out electrical energy for our electric devices. And next we shall talk about wet cells. Wet cells is also like what we call battery, but this is wet because inside there's a liquid. Some say there are acid inside. There's acid, and there's a chemical reaction. And what happened? The chemical reaction will produce electricity for our cars or the plane or trains or trucks or lorries and so on. So this is different. And usually wet cells is bigger than dry cells. Dry cells are smaller. Okay, we will move on with solar cells. A solar cell changes light energy into electrical energy. Solar cells are used in devices such as calculators. So a small cell is called solar cells. This small cell, one, two, three, four, are called solar cells. Now this is called cells, and it is used in devices such as calculator or maybe watches. There are some watches like Casio Top Solar, if you have seen that, and it uses solar cells to produce electricity for the watch to function. Eh, sorry. Okay, solar panels. Now this is different. A group of solar cells, when there are many solar cells, the solar cells are put in solar panels. See, solar panels are made up of many solar cells. The solar cells produce electricity for electrical appliances at home. However, solar cells cannot work in the dark. So this is an example of solar panels. So in the solar panels, there are many solar cells. And what happened is these solar cells in the morning, in the day, it will produce electricity. For this type, it will produce a lot of electricity for homes like this type, for our homes. So this is called solar panels inside solar cells. Solar cell is smaller, many solar cells, we call it solar panels like this one. Okay, we move on to solar cells. Why? The question, why can't solar cells work in the dark? So we shall discuss this question in our online lesson this Saturday. Okay, saving electricity. Let's move on to the next topic, that is saving electricity. Look at the picture. How electricity being wasted in this picture. Okay, now let's take a look there. um, I will give you 30 seconds for you to identify how electricity. Now this guy looks surprised. Now how is electricity is wasted? 30 seconds, we start now. Okay, now 30 seconds are up. So how does in this picture the person here wasted electrical energy? Let's take a look. Now we start with, I think, that is dryer. I think that's a dryer. Usually we don't have this at home, not in Brunei Darussalam, because we don't really need that. But in colder countries, they used to have this. They always have this dryer because outside is cold. So when, or maybe lack of sunlight in Western countries, so they have this called dryer, and this dryer is moving or functioning, moving. So you don't really need to use this, especially in Brunei. It's a waste of electrical energy. We can always put our clothes, dry our clothes outside under the sun. So the second would be washing machine. Now, letting the washing machine turning on all the time is really waste of electricity. You waste electricity if you're using washing machine all the time. Yes, of course, we use washing machine once in a while, once a week or maybe twice a week. But if it's every day, only for a little amount of clothes, so it's a waste of electricity. Next, this thing is a robot vacuum. I'm not sure the name, but it's a vacuum and it's a robot. It moves automatically. We can set the time and it moves automatically. We can always I think um, else than using a vacuum, we can use a broom maybe. It depends, but this is a waste of electricity. Now this is a heater. Now not in Brunei. I think this is a heater, but not in Brunei. We don't use heaters. We use air conditioners. Heaters are usually in colder countries. Now this heater is a waste of electricity if it's on all the time. Take a look at here. This is a laptop. Now this woman is not using the laptop, but the laptop is on, so it's wasting electrical energy. And this is coffee maker, I think. Coffee maker. So coffee maker, for us, either you use coffee maker, you can use a coffee maker, of course, but either you use it during breakfast, not all the time, only in the morning during breakfast, or when you want to drink it. So you don't need to turn on the coffee maker when you don't want to drink coffee or tea, example. Next, hair dryer. We use hair dryer, of course, after shower, but not all the time. All the time is wasting electricity. You can also dry your hair naturally, not using hair dryer. Next, television is on. It's wasting electricity. Oh, lights is on. These types of light is wasting energy. And the girl is also on the phone while hair drying her hair and turning on the TV, so it's waste of energy. The what is it? Speakers. I think this is speakers. So the speakers is also on, and the sorry table no standing lamp. Standing lamp is also on. So when everything is on at the same time, it is a waste of energy, electrical energy. You can use it, not problem, but you don't really use it all at the same time. Okay, now, how can we save electricity at home and at school? Now, that's a question. How can we save electricity? There are a few ways that I will tell you now how to save electricity at home and in school. Okay. Now, one, turn off lights and electrical appliances when you leave the house or classroom. So, when you want to leave your house or classroom, you turn off the lights or fans, electrical, or maybe in the classroom we have projectors, so turn off the projectors. Or maybe at home, maybe you turn on the radio, so you can turn off the radio before you go out. um, Lights, of course, depends. In the morning, yeah, you should turn off the lights. At night time, turn on the lights, of course. When you leave the house for emergency, it would be better with the lights on, but not too much light. Not too much. Maybe the garage light, yeah, acceptable. Maybe one living room light, yes, acceptable, but not all the light you need to turn on when you leave the house. So else than that, electrical appliances like television, radio, and so on that you don't need, yeah, that you don't use, turn off before you go out of your house. Pull the plug out. Pull. When you pull the plug out, it is safer. Usually, when you turn off the light or radio and the plug is still on, actually the TV is still on, but in it you still uses electricity slowly because you still plug on like this one. So you turn off this one. For more safer, just pull the plug out. It would be safer. Okay, next. Turn off the lights and open curtain during the day. In the morning, yes, turn on the lights and use the natural sunlight outside. Use it outside. Open the window, open the curtains, and let the fresh air come into your house. And let the lights, natural lights, go inside your house, but not in the midday. Maybe in the midday it's too hot, but you should always open early in the morning when it's still cool and the light is still bright, and it feels nice, it feels cool. So open that, turn off lights and open curtain. except during rain maybe. If it's rain heavily, it's dark, so turn on, of course, turn on the lights. If it's not open, why not? So you can save electrical energy. Third way is to use fan instead of an air conditioner. Now this is depend. Like in Brunei is hot. It's quite hot in Brunei Darussalam. I believe that I also use air conditioner, but then it depends. When it's raining or when it's early in the morning, when it's still like 6, 7, or 8, or maybe 9 o'clock in the morning, it's still cool. The weather, the air is still cool, so you don't need air conditioner early in the morning. Maybe you would use air conditioner by midday or by the afternoon because it's tend to get hot. But then for early in the morning, use fan, or maybe for during rainy season, the air is a bit cooler, so you can use your fan than your air conditioner. Air conditioner would use more electricity to compare with fan, or else other than that, maybe you don't really need the fan. Let the natural wind blow cool air from outside, cool fresh air from outside inside your house. It depends, of course, but a fan would save more electrical energy compared with air conditioner. Okay, now what other ways to save electricity? Electricity. Now the correction, electricity. What other ways? We shall discuss this question in our online lesson this Saturday, which is, let me check, this Saturday, 22nd of January, we shall discuss about this question. Though there are two questions I think we need to discuss about. One is ways to save electricity, and the other question, let me check again. Um, The first question is, why can't solar cells work in the dark? So this is the first question. The second question is this one. What are the ways to save electricity? So we can discuss that this Saturday, 22nd of January. So exercises, read the notes, do exercises. Now you really need to do the exercises because marks will be recorded. I will record the marks. Those who did not do your worksheet from Microsoft form that I have provided will get no marks. Okay, this is very important to do your exercises that I have provided. Okay, now there are three sources. Recap week 2 lesson. Three sources of electricity, that is mains electricity, and electric cells, which is dry cells, and solar cells. Now we talk about three main sources of electricity: mains, electric cells, and solar cells. We can save electricity by turning off light and electrical appliances when we leave our house or our classroom. Second, turn off lights and open curtains in the morning. I said in the morning, turn off the lights and open curtains. And C, use fan instead of air conditioner because air conditioner uses more electricity. Okay, now thank you for watching this video, watching the lesson for this week for year 6. I think this is week 3, topic about sources of electricity and ways to save electricity. Subscribe, like my video, and share it to your friends who are in year 6 the same. We have the same lesson, of course, in Brunei Darussalam, more or less the same lesson. Share, like, subscribe to the channel for your next lesson next week. Inshallah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and see you again next week.